Can you get all of the nutrition you need from today's food, or do you need to be taking supplements? Well, some people swear by multivitamins. Others say they either aren't effective or actually can cause some harm. Makers of a vitamin pack called 90 for Life say their product provides 90 essential nutrients for life. Dr. Joel Wallach has a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and a doctorate in veterinary medicine from the University of Missouri, Columbia, and a doctorate of naturopathic medicine from the National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon. He was also a nominee for the Nobel Prize in Medicine for his stunning discoveries in the use of trace minerals to prevent catastrophic diseases in newborns. He's also referred to as Doc Wallach. He realized that traditional medicine was very flawed in its focus on treatment rather than focusing on preventing disease through proper nutrition. This was something he learned and was essential in veterinary medicine because there is no health insurance for animals. Striving to provide Americans with a new view of health and healing, Doc authored Dead Doctors Don't Lie, and the book tells the story of Doc Wallach's journey to discovering the importance of proper nutrition. It goes into how degenerative diseases are linked to specific mineral and vitamin deficiencies. He's our guest on the show today. He's here to talk to us about health, the importance of proper nutrition, and what people can do to stay healthy. We'll also talk about the 90 for Life product produced by Youngevity and the value of supplements. Welcome to the program, Doc.
Well, thank you, Gary. Appreciate your hospitality. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, great to have you on the program. Let's talk about the book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie. It's a pretty provocative title. Tell us about it.
Well, basically, the average lifespan of medical doctors, according to their own survey, which came out in 1999, is 56. And so why would anybody want to listen to a group of people whose average lifespan is 56 to live to be 100? Also, this story came out in February 5th, 2007, and it was a big story. It was from the Institute of Medicine, the Journal of the American Medical Association, the Centers for Disease Control, and they said that medical doctors each year, there's a yearly figure, kill, injure, and infect 15 million patients in hospitals and clinics across America alone.
Can you repeat that statistic one more time, please?
They kill, injure, and infect 15 million patients in hospitals and clinics each year in America alone.
Medical doctors.
Medical doctors do, yes. And so how many people would fly commercial airlines if they knew that they killed, injured, and infected 15 million people? How many people would go to a fast food restaurant if they knew they killed, injured, and infected 15 million customers? And so I thought it was quite interesting, since the medical system has been able to wiggle themselves into a protective monopoly that is self-policing since 1914, following a report called the Flexner Report. And they're totally unimpeachable. They can kill with impunity, it seems, and they get a walk. Nobody even gets a parking ticket.
So Dead Doctors Don't Lie. What's really the basis for the book? So you reveal those truths,
yes, sir,
in your book, and then you go into some other topics.
Well, sure. Well, basically, as you pointed out very, very well, in veterinary medicine, we don't have health insurance for animals. And a farmer is not going to pay $78,000 for a hip replacement for a $10,000 bull. Okay, and so we had to learn how to regrow cartilage. We had to learn how to regrow a heart. When a bull has congestive heart failure, we can deal with that in 5 days. It's a deficiency of a single vitamin. Doctors like heart transplants to make $250,000 when it should cost a couple of bucks to deal with congestive heart failure. Things like Alzheimer's disease. I said in 1993, when the original Dead Doctors Don't Lie audio cassette tape came out in 1993, that Alzheimer's disease was a physician-caused disease, actually caused by deficiencies of nutrients rather than a genetically transmitted disease, as doctors said. And of course, that set off a firestorm and really brought us to a level where it was nationally looked at.
So, in your view, you see that most diseases are essentially the result of a deficiency of a mineral or a vitamin. It can be treated by simply taking a supplement.
That's
in
correct.
Most cases.
In most cases, it can be prevented or reversed with nutritional supplements. That includes omega-3s, amino acids, vitamins, minerals. For instance, there's not a single birth defect that's caused by genetic problems. Although doctors say all birth defects are caused by genetic problems, and there's not a single one. You have to appreciate, Gary, that over the thousands of years that there's been philosophers and physicians and medical doctors, There's thousands of failed medical theories. And the most recent one we're living through right now is a failed medical theory that all diseases are caused by bad genes. And if they could just build a good gene, genetically engineer one, replace the bad gene with the good one, everything would be fine. There's not a single disease that's genetically transmitted. And so we're living through kind of the end of this time where everybody thought that every disease was caused by bad genes. It's called epigenetics. Epigenetics is a term given to the process by which your DNA and your genes require certain nutrients to maximize their genetic potential. In other words, let's say we have the potential to live 200 years, but you only live to be 45 years because you don't give your genes the raw materials they need to get you to the 200-year mark. And so that's where we're at. There's not a single disease that's caused by genes. It's actually all nutritional deficiencies.
Now, Doc, if somebody says, well, I eat a healthy diet, is it necessary for them to take supplements?
Absolutely impossible to have an adequate diet eating healthy. And there's two reasons for that, Gary. Number one, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, on Pearl Street, New York City, on the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant. Within 10 years, every town, every municipality, and every city in the industrialized world converted from wood as a universal fuel into electricity. Well, wood was our source of nutritional minerals for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, because the ashes aren't really ashes. They're minerals that are left when you burn the wood for fuel. You would throw these minerals, aka wood ashes, into the garden. The corn and the beans and tomatoes and sweet potatoes and onions would soak up those minerals. You'd eat them and you'd get your minerals in that fashion. Once we went to electricity, nobody replaced that traditional source of mineral nutrients. Secondly, we began to dam up the big rivers for two reasons. Number one, people complained about flooding in the cities. And then secondly, they needed more electricity because the demand for electricity grew. Well, when it would flood every year, the flood would leave silt and mud in the fields, which are a source of minerals from mountains hundreds of miles away. And the farmers would plow that back in. So the mineral source was renewed into the fields every year by flooding, and every day, at least in the rows near the farmer's house, by throwing the wood ashes out into the garden. Both those sources, the traditional sources of nutritional minerals, went away. And here come the medical doctors. Don't you dare take vitamins and minerals. You can overdose, you know. And so that between the respected person telling people not to take supplements, our source of nutritional minerals going away because the wood ashes went away because of electricity use, and damming up the rivers so we no longer got flooding, we're in big trouble.
So some people would argue, you know, supplements are too expensive. I already eat healthy. What do you say to people who feel that supplements are just too expensive to purchase?
Well, death is very expensive, Gary. Disease is very expensive. I'll give you a couple of examples. You look at a preemie. For the 3 months you're in the hospital, it costs, on the average, this was just a cover story in Time magazine, it costs $280,000 for a preemie for 3 months on the average. Some of them cost $500,000, but on the average it's $280,000. Some of them cost $150,000, but on the average $280,000. For $1,200 worth of supplements for the 9 months of pregnancy, there'll never be another preemie. It's just that simple. We've done that in the animal industry, because you can imagine a farmer having to put preemie calves in an incubator for 3 months. Your hamburger would cost you $500 a pound just to pay for the preemie care for calves. And secondly, let's look at things like very simple stuff like joint replacements. A hip replacement in America costs $78,000. Deals with one joint, doesn't deal with the other 71 joints of the body. Our program for supporting and promoting maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, joints, if you will, backs, it would cost for a 200-pound man, big fellow like yourself, it would cost, say, $1,500 for 3 months, $1,500, and after that, $250 a month for maintenance, as opposed to $78,000. The thing that's broken America financially is the high cost of ineffective, dangerous medical treatments. Okay? And so it's much better to use supplements than it is to do surgery. And of course, it's medical doctors who say that supplements are dangerous. Well, in 2007, Gary, the FDA finally submitted to the pressure of the pharmaceutical industry and doctors and reported for the first time ever, the reports would be coming in for people saying, I got diarrhea, but taking too much vitamin C. I got itchy skin from taking too much niacin. And I got headaches from taking some of those herbs that are in energy drinks. My heart really went fast, and I went to the emergency room. 600 reports, adverse events reports, they call them, in 2007, reported in 2008 for herbs, vitamins, minerals. 600 adverse events reports, 400 were in herbs, and 200 in vitamins, minerals. The same year, 2007, reported in 2008, there was just short of 500,000 adverse event reports for prescribed pharmaceuticals. 500,000 versus 600. And of course, most of the 500,000 were deaths. None of the nutritional or herbal adverse events reports were deaths.
Now, those are pretty shocking figures when you look at the natural supplement versus the big pharma medications, over-the-counter drugs. So when somebody's going into the store and they see the lines of vitamins, how do they make an informed choice? There's so many companies, there's so many choices out there. First of all, before we get into that specifically, what are some of the key? You have 90 for Life as your program, but what are some of the, would you say, top 10 vitamins that people really need to focus on?
Well, first of all, have you ever heard of a cake recipe, Gary?
No, I have not.
You had never heard of a cake recipe?
Oh, a cake recipe. I'm sorry. I thought you mentioned a name. I thought you mentioned Kate Reci. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know who that is.
Okay, well, a cake recipe, of course, let's say it has 25 ingredients. What if you just take the 10 you like and leave out the other 15? You're not going to have a very good cake, right? It's going to be a pancake. It's going to taste awful, or it's going to be gritty, or it's not going to be right. And so we like to talk about all the known essential nutrients. Okay, we're going to assume you're going to get a smattering of this and that, but it's not going to be, you can eat a tomato from the same garden every day, but one tomato might have 10 of the nutrient and the next tomato has 3 and so on. And it's not very predictable. We're supposed to be at the high end of the intelligence chain. So let's take all 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids. So to get the complete cake recipe, you need all 90. And so I'm always reluctant to pick out the top 10 of any one thing. And when you look at the top multiples on the market, regardless of brand, you're looking at 28 to 30 nutrients in there, maybe 13 minerals. Well, what about the other 47? On the average, each mineral gives you, and deficiency will give you anywhere from 10 to 25 diseases. Calcium deficiency alone gives you 147 different diseases. Then, when you look at, you go to a health food store, or you go to a grocery or a pharmacy, they'll have vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, magnesium, zinc. And if you buy a $10 bottle of these nutrients, and you have to get 72 bottles to get each of your nutrients, you're looking at $720 for a month. Okay, so we've gotten it down to using natural products, and we test everything to make sure each batch has all 90 essential nutrients in optimal amounts. For a 120-pound person, it's going to cost them something like $2 a day. For a 200-pound person, it's going to cost you maybe $5 a day. And that's going to support and promote maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissues, muscles, heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, brain, eyes. And myself, this month, using the Chinese numbers, I've turned 75. And I haven't been to a doctor, with me being the patient, for 68 years. Been taking the 90 essential nutrients twice a day for 68 years. Never been on prescription medication. My blood pressure is 90 over 60. My pulse is 43, which is a little high for me. It's normally 38 is my pulse. And I can go to a pharmacy without a prescription, buy all the test strips that a doctor will use in a physical in his office for $1.50 a test strip. And all my numbers are right dead center of normal. I've been doing this for 68 years. And if everybody does this, the medical system would be real humble. And so that's my job, is to teach people to use all 90 essential nutrients. It's very economical, $150 a month instead of $750. You can't buy individual nutrients and put them together. It's too expensive. And the average person will say, well, I'll leave this one. I'll just take the top 10, and I hope I'll get the others out of my food. It's actually insane to do that when a dog food has everything in it. Our babies' formulas, for instance, Gary, have something like 13 minerals, whereas the other 47 are. And the Food Chemistry Journal came out in April of 2012 and said baby formulas we're very familiar with. I mean, very well-respected baby formulas have less than 20% of the minerals and less than 20% of the vitamins our babies need. Dog food has 100%, laboratory rat food has 100%, chicken food has 100%, and our kids have less than 20%.
During the break, we were talking briefly about scurvy. And tell us about the history of that and how that was essentially cured.
Okay, well, scurvy, of course, is a very famous, very important historical disease. More than 2 million British and Japanese soldiers died over a 100-year period from scurvy because as they would go on these long sea voyages, they didn't have anything fresh to eat. They would eat salted pork and that sort of thing, but they didn't have cabbage, they didn't have fresh fruit, green things to eat. And so vitamin C, which when you're deficient in vitamin C, you get scurvy. And so they didn't have an adequate source of vitamin C. And after 90 days at sea, they're all coming down. Their teeth are falling out. Their bones are falling apart. Connective tissue is falling apart. They hemorrhage to death. And it cost the British Navy and the Japanese Navy enormous sums of money, plus the lives of these sailors. And, of course, a lot of the...
How long did it plague? How long did it plague these navies?
Oh, several hundred years. Okay? And, of course, the medical doctors at that time, we're looking for the germ. You get some grandmothers say, well, just let each sailor take a head of cabbage with him or a basket of fruit and it won't happen. Well, where's the germ, lady? There's got to be a germ, because this is one of those failed medical theories where they fought Louis Pasteur for 100 years, right? His theory of the germ theory, because he's the one that came up with the germ theory. Louis Pasteur, he was a wine chemist, and he was only a wine chemist. And we doctors know that all diseases are caused by things like our four humors are out of balance or spontaneous generation. There's no such things as germs. Well, von Leeuwenhoek, the guy that came up with a microscope, and Pasteur could see these germs, and he could take pus from somebody or a sputum from somebody that had pneumonia or dying and inject it into an animal and cause the same disease. And so he knew these little bugs called germs you can see under the microscope cause disease. And he came up with a germ theory, and medical doctors fought him even long after he died. Once they believed in germs, and everything, including every nutritional disease you can think of, including scurvy and beriberi and pellagra and so forth, were all caused by germs. And millions of people died because they kept looking for the germ and disregarded what grandma said about eating more fresh fruits and vegetables.
Now, there's a hot debate about cancer and its causes. In your research over time, have you discovered that cancer is also of the cause of a vitamin deficiency?
Well, there's many things we know about cancer. Number one, this is one of my lawsuits against the FDA, and I prevailed in federal courts to be able to say that you can prevent or reduce the risk of many different cancers by supplementing with 200 micrograms a day of the trace mineral selenium. Reduce the risk of certain cancers like breast cancer by 82%, prostate cancer by 69%, and breast cancer by 32% just by supplementing with 200 micrograms of selenium. The cancer bullseye in America is Jackson, Mississippi. When you look at the cancer rate across the United States, the worst place to be in America for cancer is Jackson, Mississippi.
Why is that?
Well, that's because they fry everything there. There's rumors they even fry water. We know they fry ice cream, but they might even fry water. And fried foods cause trans fatty acids, heterocyclamines, and acrylamides. These are chemicals far more dangerous than anything that Monsanto and Dow Chemical will make. And eating fried foods causes cancer. People have to come to grips with this. And of course, this goes along with the study from the University of South Carolina, which came out in 1998.
Well, let me just jump in there real quick. I love fried foods. Do you have a supplement that I can take that I can still eat my fried foods?
I wouldn't suggest that, but we do know that antioxidants, which will reduce the level of free radical damage, you're going to have to eat 100,000 ORAC points an hour, okay, to compensate for eating fried foods. I just wouldn't play with that. It's like playing with a loaded gun, pointing at yourself and pulling the trigger and say, well, there's only one shell in there, bam, you're dead. And the same thing is, I wouldn't give anybody permission to take more antioxidants and eat fried foods. I don't do it. You're going to get some protection, but I've known people who have tried it and they didn't do well, and so I wouldn't suggest it.
So what makes your product, your vitamin supplements, your 90 for Life program, what sets it apart from the pack? Are all supplements created equal is the question.
Well, the question's answer, of course, is that no, not all supplements are created equal. For instance, what makes me different? You said it very well at the beginning. I have a degree in agriculture. I have a degree in veterinary medicine. But you left out the fact that I do have also a postdoc in comparative pathology where I do autopsies on animals and people. And this is before I became a naturopathic physician. And in one study, I did over 20,000 autopsies at the Center for the Biology of Natural Systems at Washington University, at the St. Louis Zoo, and the Shaw's Botanical Gardens in St. Louis in the 60s and 70s. And the book that came out of that, 1,200 pages, is in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure. The bottom line of that study was that there's 454 species of zoo animals, 3,000 humans, 17,000 some change of over 454 species of animals, 10 million chemistries. It's in a book that thick. And the bottom line of the study, Gary, was that every animal and every human being that dies of what we would call natural causes dies of a nutritional deficiency disease. If you ask a medical doctor to name all the rare earths, which double the lifespans of laboratory animals in double-blind randomized studies, they can't name you one. They don't even know what a rare earth is. But these are substances.
For our audience's benefit, what is a rare earth?
Okay, well, a rare earth is a trace mineral. You need, say, 1,000 times less of ytterbium, yttrium, neodymium, praseodymium than you do selenium or magnesium or chromium or vanadium. But they're essential for maximizing your genetic potential for longevity and health. Okay, it will double the lifespan of laboratory animals. And so why not be aware of those and make sure you're taking adequate amounts to make your genes and your DNA happy? Okay, well, if a doctor doesn't even know they exist, because all he knows about is calcium and magnesium and some potassium, and otherwise they're extremely ignorant. And that's why only dead doctors don't lie.
So what conditions give bodies the best chance to heal themselves so we don't have to go to the dead doctor and get a pharmaceutical prescription, which comes along with multiple side effects?
Sure. Well, first of all, you have to appreciate, Gary, with the exception of antibiotics, which do cure syphilis, antibiotics will cure strep throat, bacterial meningitis, gangrene, these sorts of things. With the exception of antibiotics, which is about 500 of them in the physician's desk reference, there's not a single pharmaceutical that's prescribed by medical doctors that cure anything. They all relieve symptoms. There's no law requiring a doctor to cure you when there's a cure available. For instance, rheumatoid arthritis is curable in 2 weeks. But why would a doctor want to make $300 in office calls by curing you of your rheumatoid arthritis in 2 or 3 weeks when you can make $750,000 by treating you for 25 years? Insurance pays. Why worry about it? Are there philosophies?
So rheumatoid arthritis is a major problem in America. A lot of people watching this right now are suffering from it. What mineral supplements would you say that individual could take to alleviate some of that problem, that disease?
Okay. Well, rheumatoid arthritis, Gary, is two parts. Number one, the actual disease is different from bone-to-bone arthritis or osteoarthritis or osteopenia and osteoporosis, which is simply a nutritional deficiency. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis is a combination of a nutritional deficiency and an infection with a bug called mycoplasma. And there's a tetracycline called minocycline. It's a member of the tetracycline family. And I can kill that bug in 2 weeks with minocycline. I can kill the mycoplasma in 2 weeks. So it kills the infection, just like I can kill the syphilis bacteria with penicillin in 2 weeks. Same concept, no big deal. But then you have the damage that bacteria did to the joints, joint capsule, tendons and ligaments and deficiencies, complicated things by causing all kinds of deformities. Well, we have a program we call the Healthy Bone and Joint Pack, which has all 90 essential nutrients, plus what we call the secret sauce for supporting and promoting maintenance repair of cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, joint capsules, disc between the vertebrae, all the things that are damaged by this infection. And so all the drugs that are sold on TV or the doctor might prescribe for you for rheumatoid arthritis, gold shots, methotrexate, and some of the pharmaceuticals, which I'm not going to name, only relieve symptoms. None of them kill the bug. None of them rebuild anything. They relieve pain and inflammation. And so over time, the infection and the degenerative disease gets worse and worse and worse. Then you have joint replacements. And this is where the big expense comes in. $780,000 for each hip. That's $160,000 for 2 hips, and the knee replacements and the finger replacements and 4 joints in the fingers and the back of the hand, the wrist, the elbow, the shoulders. And so it gets pretty scary. But doctors know that each rheumatoid arthritis patient is money in the bank. They just draw on that deposit anytime they need the money. Kids going into Harvard, hey, come on in, Frank. I have a brand new hip I'm going to try on you. I'm going to give you a discount on it. Frank comes in, charges the guy $78,000 in insurance company.
Sounds like a bit of a racket to me.
It is a racket. What other industry can kill, injure, and infect 15 million of their customers at their workplace every year and still be in business year after year after year?
Let's talk about exercise for a moment. And just how important is exercise compared to vitamins for good general health?
There is no comparison. If you have a choice of taking all 90 essential nutrients and exercise, take the 90 essential nutrients, skip the exercise. Exercise without supplementation is a fatal, fatal, fatal disease. But you think about it, Gary. You take all the professional sports combined, the average lifespan of professional athletes is 62, football players is 51. There's never been a professional athlete ever lived to be 100. So what's so good about exercise? In fact, in December of 1982, the Journal of the American Medical Association came out with a little study that said, while running, a man's risk of heart attack death increases by 700%. So why would anybody want to run? Okay, if you're going to run, you better be supplementing heavily. And so we came out with a sports drink that has 100 nutrients in it, replacing everything that's in your sweat. Most sports drinks have either 2, 4, or 6 nutrients in it. Ours has 100. Because sweat is not water. Sweat is a soup of everything floating around your blood.
So you have a sports drink as well.
Yes.
And how does that compare to the stuff that we find in the gas station refrigerator?
Well, again, depending on the brand, they might have 2 nutrients. You might have 4 nutrients or 6 nutrients. How do you compare 2, 4, or 6 nutrients with 100 nutrients? And your sweat's going to your sweat is going to contain anywhere between, say, 65 and 90 nutrients, depending if you're supplementing or not. If you just drink water to rehydrate yourself, you'll rehydrate yourself, but your knees will break down because you're not getting enough nutrients to replace what you're losing through the sweat. You might get muscle cramps. You're going to get muscle tears. You're going to get sudden heart death, like a lot of 10,000 young athletes every year in America die from sudden heart death. This is due to a deficiency of a single mineral, selenium, ruptured aneurysms while running, because of the death of many young athletes. And this is caused by deficiency of another single mineral, copper. Well, there's no, with the exception of our sports drink, there's no other sports drink that has copper and selenium. And they all have just sodium and chloride. Okay?
Now, what about children? We've seen the little gummies that kids can have, and those types of things. How important is supplement for a growing child?
Well, a growing child needs more vitamins and minerals per pound of body weight than an adult. Like you and me, we're maintaining ourselves, right? And we just want to maximize our genetic potential for longevity and health. Well, these kids, not only are they looking at that requirement, but also they're looking at growth and puberty and all the other special pressures that are put on their systems. And so per pound of body weight, a youngster needs far more nutrients each day than we do for maintenance per pound of body weight. So, and again, in April of 2012, in Food Chemistry Journal, said that our very well-respected baby foods, baby formulas, contain less than 20% of the minerals and vitamins that our babies need. So we have an insane system. In fact, a cover story Time magazine in December of 2008 came out and said that our children are not going to live as long as us. Our kids are the first generation. They're not going to live as long as the parents. Many parents will be burying their children because they're not getting the nutrition that we got, simply because there's no more wood ashes going into the garden. We've dammed up the rivers, no more silt coming in the floods every year. And then here's the doctor in his white coat saying, now don't you supplement, Gary. It's bad for you. You can overdose, you know.
Well, Doc, we're coming up to the end of the clock here, and I want to ask you one last question.
Yes, sir.
What do you think are the leading causes of the healthcare crisis in the United States?
Well, the main cause is the medical system has been made into a monopoly. This monopoly is self-policing. They have been able to render all their competition as quacks. Insurance only pays them. And any industry that can kill, injure, and infect 15 million of their customers or workplace every year and still be in business next year or next month or next week is an amazing industry when you think about it. They also infect 2 million people each year in hospitals alone, of which 90,000 die. What if Iran or North Korea would have sent over a biological weapon, an intercontinental ballistic missile, and kill 90,000 people and infect 2 million in a large population center? We'd declare war on them. And here's one trade that does it every year in their workplace. Nobody seems to care. That's the biggest problem. They don't have any competition. If you're going to put a roof on your house, Gary, or put a sprinkler system in your yard, you're going to get 5 bids. You're going to find out from something like Better Business Bureau or one of these things online who's the best one. And you're going to find out if there's any complaints about them. People go to the same doctor for 25, 30, 40 years, whatever the doctor says they do, without even checking with another doctor. That's the main problem.
If there's one thing that you want our audience to take away from today, from this interview, we've covered so much ground here, and I wish we had more time because we could keep on going. I know we could. But if there's one thing you really want our audience to take away from today, what would that be?
That they must supplement with the 90 essential nutrients and do it obsessively. I've done it for twice a day for 68 years, been blessed with perfect health. If everybody were like me health-wise, guess what, Gary? The medical system would be really, really unhappy.
And what do you think would happen with Obamacare?
Oh, well, Obamacare is problematic simply because it failed thinking that the reason why America is sick is because they didn't have access to doctors. Obamacare is like putting people in the furnace.
So having the supplements would
prevent that from happening, because you put 6 quarts of oil in your car to prevent the engine from burning up. Do you put the 6 quarts of oil in your car after the engine burns up or before the engine burns up? So you take the 90 essential nutrients before you get sick, you just don't get sick.